I blame Kimmy for this mess. My thing is, if you're trying to date a man and this man does not see it for your child, he's not present with your child, he's not hands-on, why on earth would you marry this man? Why on earth would you continue to deal with this man? He clearly does not want to be a parent. I feel like Kimmy is the perfect example of what happens when you get desperate and then choose to settle with any man that comes. It really feels like Kimmy settled, because why exactly would you be with someone like Maurice, who is not an active parent? Even when it comes to Munster, he brought over Munster to the house and barely even does things with him. You're the one that keeps being the hands-on parent. And you're the step parent in this case. So my thing is like, why would you think that would be different? And my thing is, you said out of your own mouth that he was treating Jaylin differently. So why would you stay? Hey, lovelies, you're welcome back to Reviews and Recaps. Today, we're going to be talking about some of the key things that I picked up from this episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville. Now, let me start with Tricia. So the episode opened up with Tricia and Ken and Marquez. Ken and Marquez were going at it. They did not show us the fight. But my thing is, did you notice what Tricia looks like? Tricia looks like she had a smirk on her face. Tricia pretty much looks like she was laughing about this mess. That woman is toxic. She knew exactly what she wanted to do. She wanted to incite. She wanted the guys to be fighting over her. And she absolutely accomplished that. People like that are people you need to watch out for. It's like they throw enough darts for you to get riled up. She knew exactly what to do to get Ken riled up. She knows Ken has a temper. So she did everything, said just the right things to get Ken amped up. And then she knew that Marquez has no control over his emotions. So all she has to do is say a little something here and there, and it's going to be a full-on war. And guess what happened? Exactly that. Be careful of somebody like that. Did you even notice the way she was talking when she was talking to the girls and telling them about it? She was laughing about it. She was loving it. People like that are toxic. They will set you up. They will have you fighting their battles, and then they will remove their hands like they are innocent. Now, fast forward quickly to when Ken had the conversation with his friend Will and Chris Fletcher. Let me just say this. I like Will. I love that his friend was like, I'm gonna be honest, I am not going to spare your feelings at all. I like friends like that, because why should I allow my friend to be out here going out sad and then let it be obvious that I, as a friend, did not tell him the truth? So I appreciated Will saying to him, practically, in some other words, why are you even in that relationship? Why are you trying to put the puzzles together when the puzzles ain't fitting? He was practically like, if he was in that situation, he would have left the whole Trish situation alone. And that's exactly what I think that he should have done. Now, I will say, Will, are you single? He kind of fine, asking for a friend, okay? But anyway, my thing is, like, I like that somebody held Ken accountable. Ken did not like that, because Ken was out here piping up, aside this, Tisha and I don't have any issues. This is a big issue. Why can't Ken see that? And I feel like the reason is because Ken has a savior complex. He wants to be needed. He sees himself as the protector. And that's why it is so easy to get him to act up, because he is out here thinking he's saving Trish from Marquez when Trish don't need to be saved. Trish is good. Trish is practically the one pulling the strings, honey. She's pulling the strings like a tea bag, in the words of Nicki Minaj. That is what she's doing. Anyways, let's fast forward to Kimmy and Maurice, because I have lots to say about Kimmy and Maurice. So they had a date night outside and they were talking. So Kimmy thought that was the best time to bring up that Jaylin does not see Maurice as a father figure. Instead, he sees Maurice more like the homie. And he sees Marceau as more of a father figure than Maurice. Okay? So just putting those facts out there. My thing is, Maurice, were you parenting that boy? And this is the thing. It's so easy to be like, oh yeah, I'm offended, or you're upset in that moment. But let's take a step back. Were you actually parenting that boy? Did you show up though? Were you spending one-on-one time with this boy? Or were you just constantly commanding him? And what it sounded like was that during their relationship, or whenever they were living in the same house together, it was almost like always correcting Jalen. It wasn't like him having one-on-one time to like teach Jalen or talk to Jalen or just have good conversations or just spend time, do fun stuff with him, right? It felt very much like Maurice was barely there. And it's interesting that even before Kimmy said anything about her feelings towards that, I could tell. In the confessionals, you can see her body language. Even in the scene, you can see her body language. It's basically she agrees with it. But I think at that point, she didn't want to raise it. And then later on, she then said that Maurice is very much hands off. And that is crazy because it's like, Kimmy, why would you marry somebody that is hands off as a parent, knowing fully well you already have a child? That is doing your child a disservice. And the thing is, it's one thing to be hands off, but to hear that that boy was being treated in a way that wasn't comparative to the way Monster was treated is horrible to me. And I know people say like parents always have favorites. I get it, but I don't think it is fair to treat these children differently. Now, am I saying that there are certain things that are nuanced? Let's say you are dating a woman who has a daughter. Of course, that's a completely different dynamic. That doesn't mean you're not spending time with her. But of course, there are certain things that you may not feel comfortable talking to the daughter about, maybe about like men and periods and all these different things. I get that, right? So there may be a difference in certain conversation that you can have. There may be certain like different ways, right? Let's say, for instance, she's on her period. You're like, all right, guys, please let her rest. No house chores for her. I understand that. I feel like that is different from you treating at the core a child differently to the other, right? Just because that they are your bio children. And this is what I feel about. There are certain people that are not made to be like step parents or adoptive parents, because it's like there shouldn't be a distinction in how you treat your bio children with the way you treat your adopted children. There is no reason. If you know that you can't deal, then don't adopt children. Don't date a woman who already has children. Find somebody who has never had children before and you guys can have children together. If you know that you cannot be a present parent in their lives. Because what usually then happens is you then give these children trauma that they have to recover from. Because if you think about it, the only reason this is coming up is because they're talking about doing a family business. And of course, Jalen is not keen on it because Jalen is thinking this is going to be Maurice calling all the shots. And then Monster gets to do whatever he wants whilst Jalen is going to have to be doing all of the work. And I can understand why would anyone, especially as grown as Jalen now is going to put himself through that mess. Of course not. So I completely get where he is coming from on this. And if you think about the follow-up conversation that Maurice had with Jalen, right? Instead of Maurice listening and taking responsibility, he kind of tried to flip it a little bit, which I was annoyed about, right? So Jalen, of course, was saying that when they were growing up, you would always ask him to do stuff when Monster was there and they were both sitting there playing video games. It's like, how can we both be playing video games and then you're getting me to get up to do chores when you can be like, okay, guys, it's time to stop playing the games and let's get up and do chores. That's not the right way to treat a child. It's very obvious that you're showing favoritism in terms of your child. Instead of just apologizing, Maurice starts talking about, with the eldest children, you expect more. And, Jalen was very well brought up. I'm like, okay, what does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with the fact that he can outrightly say that you favored Monster over him? That's completely unacceptable. And the person I blame is Kimmy. Because Kimmy said when she was at that dinner with the rest of the Scots, Kimmy literally said, agreed that that was the case. And my thing is, if you felt that way, why did you not do anything about it? Why didn't you address this? Why did you have to wait until Jayling is 30 years old, completed college, and now this is a conversation? Why didn't you address it when he was growing up? Why didn't you say to him, you need to treat our children equally, or I'm not going to be in this relationship? Why couldn't you stand up for your child? It's obvious that you picked this relationship over your child. And for me, I just don't like when parents do that, in the sense that I understand the whole cleave to your husband and whatnot. I get it. But before that man becomes your husband, look and think about how he treats your child. You and your child, like you said, were a team, right? You guys were a package deal. So if you're going to date anybody, make sure the person is able to treat your child well. Don't just date a random man that does not give two-ish about your child and expect for him to be hands-on. And if he doesn't treat your child well, what are you as a mother doing? And that's why I say, like, this is the perfect example of people who choose to settle for a man. It's like your desperation for a man has clouded your judgment so much that you don't even care how your child is being treated. You are going to stick by this man instead of like, okay, let's have a conversation. You want to bring Monster over. You're going to treat them equally. This should have even been a conversation that was had before you even brought Monster over to the house. You should have had the conversation. And if you notice that he's still not doing this, then you need to have that serious, candid conversation. You cannot treat my child differently. So if there is a chore or whatever, both get the chore. If one person does something, the other person gets the punishment that they would get if they did something wrong, right? So it needs to be equal in terms of discipline. It needs to be equal in terms of, if you buy someone something, you're buying the same thing. If you want to do anything, if you want to hang out with one, you're hanging out with both boys, or spending time, equivalent time. I know it's tricky, and I know that you may not find a balance, but it should never be to the point where this person cannot look up to you as a father figure. It's one thing to say, do you know what? At first, we didn't really get on, but when I saw how he really loved me and it was really making time for us to be, cool and a family, then things got better, right? That could have been Jayling's testimony if Maurice was actually making time for him. I appreciate that blended families can be hard getting a balance, completely get it. But at the same time, it should not be so far off that this man cannot even see you as a father figure. Like, I'm not even saying like he feels like, okay, you love him more than his son or more than your son. A father figure in any way. He sees you as the bro, as the homie. That is a problem. That shows that you didn't take enough time and effort to cultivate a relationship when he was younger. And that's the mistake I feel like a lot of parents make sometimes. And this is not just for like step parents. A lot of parents, especially men, do not make enough time to spend quality time with their children. And then when they grow up, especially the ones that like to see themselves as providers, and then when they grow up and grow older and the children grow older, they realize the children aren't reaching out to them, are not talking to them, barely talking to them. And then they're just wondering, how did I get here? You got here because you never cultivated a relationship. So the reason all the kids keep calling mommy, but nobody is calling daddy, is because there was no relationship. You didn't make time for them. You didn't have conversations with them. So they grow up and just feel like there is no relationship. What am I going to call daddy and speak on? Like, it's going to be awkward. And so they don't. So I feel like Maurice just needs to accept how Jayling feels and then think about, how can I rectify this? How can we work on this? He should have literally said to Jayling, I love you just as much as I love Monster, or I love you so much. You are the child that I chose. And ultimately, I hope that you can forgive me and we can move things forward. That's what he should have done. But his pride is not going to let him accept that this is how Jayling is feeling. Anyways, let's talk about the girls' dinner. First off, did you guys notice that everyone said, oh, they hadn't spoken since LA? So LA is the reunion, first of all. And what did we say about them not being friends? Yes, they made it seem like Melody was the one that doesn't want to talk to nobody, and Melody is not trying to be friends with nobody. But the truth is, none of you all are friends either, right? Yet you guys were all focusing on Mel. You see why there's a problem? You see the hypocrisy of these people. Anyway, so they all went to dinner, yeah? And Tisha decided to use the opportunity to ask about Lance having a baby on Destiny and whether Miss Nell knew about it. So, of course, she slid that in there. Miss Nell was like, well, she didn't know about it, and that this is somebody that Lance had been dating or on and off for 5 years. So, sounds like he just went over there and things escalated, and then there was a baby. All I could think about was when Kelly said to Angela, what about that baby though? So guess what Nell did? Nell decided to flip it over to Tisha and Kimmy and then said, well, how did you guys feel about the interview Martell did where he was talking about your husbands? I'm like, okay. All right, I see what you did there, Miss Nell, and that's exactly how it should be done, because you are not about to put my feet to the fire, knowing fully well there's this whole shady business allegedly going on about your husbands, okay? So I loved how Nell did that. And then Tisha basically said, oh, well, how do you feel about it? I'm like, girl, master at deflecting. You see what Tisha did? Tisha does not want to answer any questions regarding that. You should have seen the way everyone seemed surprised about it. I'm like, are you guys serious? Do you guys really think like you would get away with not having to address it? But to be fair, they are getting away with not really addressing it, if I'm being completely honest. But are we surprised, right? So then Tisha says, yeah, her and her husband did a live about it, and that's all. So you guys go watch the live. That is all she is saying about it. Then she proceeds to gaslight us in the confessionals by saying that she's an open book. Girl, what? How, Sway? How are you an open book? You have never been transparent about anything. Nothing to do with your life. Nothing. Okay? So to say you are an open book is a reach. And when you think about who was an open book, I would say Melody Cherie. Melody was an open book on the show. She gave you guys the real. But you guys on the show do not want to give your real. How are you saying that we should go and watch a live video instead of just addressing it on a TV show? It's almost like you want me to give you that one view because you want me to go over to watch a live of you talking and saying absolutely nothing. Ridiculous. And the fact that the producers let them get away with things like that is what is so baffling to me. Now, there was a mention about how Maurice did not like the whole NDA thing. And we'll have to see how that pans out. But what I will say is I feel like this episode was slightly better than the first and the second episode, but it still wasn't very good. I think it's so obvious that they don't really have the personalities to run the show. There were moments where I was bored and I was like, oh, it really feels like there is nobody that is worth watching on the show. Like I go through moments where I'm like, okay, give me a little bit of something. I feel like, okay, Nell is okay. But the rest are like watching paint dry. Now, I'm not saying Nell is entertaining either, but I think compared to everyone else, she is a little bit better. But still, I do also see some parallels between the way Nell is being treated this season, or Nell will be treated this season. I feel like she's going to be on an island by herself, just like Melody was on an island by herself. Okay, I feel like there are parallels with that, but I don't feel sorry for Nell because when Melody was on an island by herself, she joined the masses instead of riding and supporting her so-called quotation marks friend. Okay, so I will have to see how it pans out. But I will say I'm not completely surprised that it is going that way. I feel like these people know and will gang up on one person. Let's be clear. Trish brings nothing to the show. Trish does not have anything to bring into the girl group dynamic, in my opinion. I feel like Tisha seems to be riding for Destiny. And so it feels like there is definitely an alliance between Tisha and Destiny. And it feels like Kimmy, Destiny, and Tisha have an alliance, right? So that means that, and Trish goes where the wind blows, which is with Tisha and the rest, right? So Miss Nell, you are going to be over there on that island by yourself. and I will watch and talk about it because that's what I do. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, hit that subscribe button, and tap that bell button right next to it so you know every single time that I post. Also, please share this video because I may not be your audience, but your bestie, your ex, your friend may be my audience. So please share this video as well. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys in the chat. Thank you. Bye.